Okay. All right. So I'm on examfx.com because they have every state breakdown available. And you can, when you're on, if you just go to their main website, examfx.com, you click on insurance, view state requirements, and then you scroll to your state. You can always come back and check this. So I'm going to go just briefly describe each exam so that you know the high points, the things that you need to know the most. I think one of the things that people struggle with is not knowing what's important and what's not important. You know, when you get your online course, whoever you have it with, I've partnered with Excel, but ExamFX just has a very nice, clean breakdown, which is why I use them for this. But this is all I use them for, is looking at the state breakdown, because they have all 50 states laid out like this. But I recommend Excel. But whoever you have, doesn't matter. But one of the things that happens is when you're reading that online course, you don't know what's important, what's not important. You see all of this information. And then, of course, they're quizzing you on all of this information. And so you feel like you need to know it all. But there's a difference between what is in your course and what is actually going to show up on your test. So for instance, like looking at this breakdown here for you. So like federal taxes for health insurance is only 5% of your exam. But in your course, you're probably taking a bunch of quizzes on it. It's going to be on your practice test, and you feel like you really need to know it, but you don't, because it's only 5% of your exam. It's not a huge thing, right? So this is letting us know which topics are most important, which ones to hyper focus on. So in Louisiana, you have 100 questions. You need 70% correct. This means you just need 70 right. Now your breakdown is pretty decent. Actually, you have a lot of big chapters. So that, because there's some states where it's like 3%, 2%, 4%, 6%. Yours is actually pretty decent, that you have a lot of double-digit chapters. So the easiest ones for you, general insurance is going to be pretty easy. That's 11%. And if you have my silver package, I have, and even just my YouTube channel has the general insurance memorization audio. And you can just listen to that over and over again. That's going to get you that 11%. Then you have accident and health basics. I am not covering that today, but as part of the link for the recording that I send you, I will actually include a class of accident and health basics that you can watch. The reason it's not in today's class is because it's the same chapter in life. And I taught it yesterday, and anybody who bought both days, I didn't want to have to overlap things. So, but it will be included in your link for your recordings to watch.
Okay.
And that's mostly going to be, and here it's titled Accident and Health Basics, but I will probably refer to it often as either completing the app or field underwriting. It's the same. It's just different states use different titles, but it's the same content.
Okay.
Then you have health provisions, and we'll be covering that today. Actually, it's the very first thing that we're doing. So that's going to be 14%. So that's one of your big ones. So be super focused this morning as we go through the provisions. We're going to be covering disability later today. That's your next biggest chapter at 15%. So these two alone are 29% of your exam, and you need 70 to pass. And we're covering these today. Then we're going to be doing medical and group. Actually, we're doing all of these in one section today. So that's another 15, 10, 9%. And we're doing a senior citizens as well at 14%. And if you focus on those chapters, you're going to do really, really well to be able to get that 70% that you need. Now, federal taxes, like we said, is 5%. I am actually going to cover that information this week. So there is a class, I forget what day, I think it's maybe Thursday, that I am actually going to be teaching a disability class and taxes, because the taxes actually go right along with disability. So if you do want to learn that, you could come to that class, but it won't make or break you. So when you get the questions for tax, like this is one of the chapters that's really difficult for people, because it's like, if this, then that, and then this, and then this number here, and it's a lot. So it's not necessary for you to understand that to be able to pass. You can get every question wrong and still pass your exam. Then you have insurance regulations at 12%. You could technically fail every question here and still pass if you're really strong in the rest of these. I'm not covering insurance regulations in the boot camp, but again, if you have the silver, there is a state regulations class that you could watch. And it won't give you state specific numbers, but it will tell you which numbers to focus on. So whoever you do have as your course, if you have ExamFX or you have Excel, you have Kaplan, you have 80 Banker, they will have a law section specific to your state. And if you pull that section up and watch my video at the same time, you can grab the numbers that are important, like how many CE hours do I need? How many, how long is my license good for? And do you have to do any, are there set hours for the continuing education? Do you have hours for ethics that you have to follow? That video goes into that in detail of what's important. And if you can grab those numbers, then you're going to be able to get a good amount of points there. So that's the breakdown for Louisiana health. Do you have any questions on that?
No, I'm all good on that. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right. And then Jalen, you said you were Alabama
Arkansas.
or Arkansas. Okay. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
And are you doing just health?
Yes, just health.
Okay, perfect. All right. So see, yours is going to look a little bit different. You only have 90 questions. Now 80 are scored. What this means is you're going to take all 90 and you're going to treat every question like a test question, but 10 of them, and you won't know which 10, are not going to count against you. And you could get technically all 10 of them wrong and still be able to pass. So you only need 70% of 80 questions, which if we did the math on that, that's not a lot. 80, where's my calculator? 80 times 0.7. You only need 56 questions correct out of the 90.
Wow.
So ease the burden when you're taking the test and you're like, oh, I feel like I got that one wrong. I think I got that one wrong. It's okay. You can have a lot of them wrong and still be able to pass. But do try.
I literally made a 51 last time. I didn't know that 56 would have been passing for me.
Yes. So you're only 5 points away.
Wow.
Well, unless it was 51%. If they put points or percent, they probably put a percent. So make sure you look to see if it's percent or points that they're talking about.
Okay, you said my score was a 51. The max score was a 80.
Okay, so then it is points. Okay, perfect. Okay, I just sometimes they do percent, sometimes they do points. Just wanted to make sure you checked. Okay, so your breakdown, you have a good amount of really big chapters. So you see 50% of your exam is policy provisions, which is what we're about to do right now, and then Arkansas state law. So just like I told Lucia with the state law, the silver class has the state regulations. You can watch that to grab the points that you need. Now you have another state law chapter here at 14%. What's going to be really cool is that the policy provisions is going to match this chapter. This is a chapter that Arkansas is basically saying, this is our provision, and this is our provision, and this is our provision. And they're just confirming that you know those things. So you don't even really have to study this. By studying provisions, you're gonna get this. But you do want to kind of go through this chapter, because sometimes the state will have different numbers. Like when I teach you the free look period, it's going to be 10 days. That's standard across the board, 10 days. But every state can technically change it. Like they may say 12 days, not likely, but it's possible that they could change some of the numbers. Or like time limit on certain defenses is usually 2 years, but some states have 3 years. So by looking at this chapter, you're just confirming if any of the numbers are different, but the definitions of everything would still be the same. So those are your two biggest chapters there. Then you don't need to worry about social insurance at all. That is the Medicare. So you can stick around with us. We're going to do Medicare at the last part of the day, but it's not even gonna impact you. But you saw on Lucia's, it was like
Yeah.
16%. So you never know.
Mhm.
The state breakdowns could be a little crazy with that. As long as you know, like Part A, Medicare, Part B, medical,
Part B.
Part C, Medicare Advantage,
Medical
Part D,
Advantage.
those will be the questions that you see. Okay. Then you have the field underwriting, which, like I said earlier, we're not covering today, but I will include a recording of it. And in fact, it is in your silver class as well. So
Mhm.
that's the completing the app one. It's listed there in the silver. Types of
Okay.
policies, that's going to be the disability, the medical, the HMO, the PPO, and we're going to be covering that this afternoon. So we're going to be hitting all your big topics for you today. So do you have
Okay.
any questions about your exam?
Well, specifically, it says types of policies. I tried to find a video that you just had like types of policies, so I know exactly like what to look for on my exam.
So
But
it's gonna
I'm sorry. Go
they
ahead.
put everything together. So like types of policies is going to be medical plans like HMO, PPO.
PPO.
It's going to be disability. So any of
Mhm.
the disability insurance. And those are the three major topics that will come from that chapter. But I think they even cover long-term care in there as well.
Okay.
So we are going to actually, so you don't need the Medicare, but you will need the long-term care. And we are doing that this afternoon. Did not work.
Perfect.
Oh, okay. Wait, I got somebody who with the link that doesn't work. Hang on. Let's see if we can work it. That should work, hopefully. Health, yeah, okay. So I can get more specific with you, but it's the main stuff that we're going to be talking about today when we get to the medical plans. The HMO, the PPO, disability, and long-term care will all come from that chapter. They group it all together for you. Where Lucia's, they break it out and they're all separate chapters. Yours, they clump them all together into one. Now, with that in mind, this 18% can kind of be hard to get because it's so much wrapped into one chapter. But if you do really strong in provisions, and provisions is like 3 pages worth of reading. That's what's kind of crazy about provisions. Like what we're about to cover today is actually pretty small. And it's 25% of your exam. So it's a lot easier to study 3 pages worth of material to get 25% of your points than it is to study 100 pages worth of material to get 18% of your points. So provisions is very small. And so you can easily get the 25 points here, and you'll probably get 10% here. So you don't need to stress yourself out too much about types of policies. But if you focus on the things I tell you, HMO, PPO, disability, those being the 3 major topics there, then you'll be able to get a good amount of points here.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And then we've got, who else do we have for the, why is it? Oh, it's just, okay. I was like, we're 6 people, but 2 of those are me. Okay. And then Rhonda. Oh, and then we got Mary. Okay. And then Rhonda, the North Carolina health exam. Okay, so yours is actually pretty similar to the Arkansas, except yours are flip-flopped in that you do need to know the health policies very well, but they clump them all together. So the HMO, the PPO, the disability, the long-term care, all going to be inside that chapter. Now, North Carolina is actually weird in that they keep Medicare separate. So if you plan to sell Medicare, Rhonda, you would have to take a separate Medicare exam. So when we teach the class later today, and now I'm realizing I usually go Medicare long-term care, but I'm actually going to go long-term care Medicare. And that way, those of you who don't need Medicare can dip out and you'll still get the long-term care. Because like for Lucia, it's 1 chapter. Hers is insurance for senior citizens. That's Medicare and long-term care. But for the other states, they separate Medicare from long-term care. So I will separate teaching them so that the guys, those of you who don't need Medicare don't have to pay attention. but I'll do long-term care first so that you guys can get all of that. So you don't need Medicare at all, Rhonda, for this exam, but you do need the HMO, the PPO, the medical plans, disability, and long-term care. That will come out of the 40%. Then your health provisions, we're about to do that this morning. This is 20% of your exam. With other accident and health, this is going to include taxes, and it's also going to include definitions that are tied into disability and a little bit of group insurance. So we'll be covering group today. This is kind of a smorgasbord chapter of a bunch of different stuff. You don't need to hyper focus on it, but I will be covering a good amount of information in this, because where North Carolina separates teaching you disability policies and then teaching you some disability definitions, I'm going to put them all together so that you'll end up getting a good amount of points here. And then, as you know, you've got state law. That'll be the same stuff you studied for life, for property, casualty, but it will have some accident and sickness. But again, that's going to be the health provisions. They want you to remember North Carolina specific numbers. Okay. Is that hard to read? Was it 40% is, let me zoom in here for you. So 40% is accident and health policies. That's going to be the HMO, the PPO, disability, and long-term care for you. Okay. And then Mary joined us, but I believe we covered hers yesterday. We did the whole life and health. So any other questions about your state specific numbers and what to study and focus on? Anybody have any questions for your specific state? Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording, if I can find it. Stop share.